I'll say it's a lot. I'll say all week I would say I've been like dealing with a lot spiritually, like different battles, that I had to overcome, I just had to overcome.
Love you, Dad. No, you gonna make me cry, man. I love you so much. God, I love you. That was a great play, son. God, I love you, boy. I need you, Dad. I love you so much. I need you.
Not until the last couple of years that you became Shedeur. Yeah. You've always been, that's prime son.
Yeah.
I think the devil, of course, is going to attack you different ways, people around you and everything. And honestly, like this whole year, it's been a long year. It been ups, downs. It been, different feelings. So, like you gotta be able to, at some point in time, talk to people. Sometimes you gotta lean on people also. So that's what them. My guys in there was able to really come to.
The Cleveland Browns just finished one of the worst seasons in franchise history. 3 wins, just 3. And in the middle of this disaster, there's a quarterback prospect who could have been their salvation, watching from the outside as everything falls apart. But here's where things get real. Shedeur Sanders, the most talked about QB prospect since his father changed the game at cornerback, just did something elite athletes almost never do. He showed raw, unfiltered vulnerability, the kind of honesty that makes everyone uncomfortable, the kind that cuts through all the carefully crafted PR speak. And what he said? It goes way beyond football.
And we got to end at halftime. We got in the locker room, and close teammates, close friends was like, nah, bro, get back to being you. So it was that words of encouragement. It was that shoulder to lean on that you need in them crucial moments.
This isn't your typical pre-draft narrative. This is about a young quarterback fighting invisible battles while the entire football world debates whether he's franchise material. This is about pressure that would break most 22-year-olds. And this is about an organization, yes, the Cleveland Browns, that might be ready to pass on him before he ever throws an NFL pass. Let's break down what's really happening here.
That's why my body language, everything was off. That's what it was. Then we got to end at halftime. We got in the locker room, and close teammates, close friends was like, nah, bro, get back to being you.
Shedeur Sanders just said something most NFL prospects would never admit. He wasn't mentally locked in. His body language was off. He was dealing with what he called spiritual battles, whatever that means to him personally, and it affected how he played. Think about that. In a league where any sign of weakness can end your career before it starts, where mental struggles get you labeled soft or not leadership material, Shedeur Sanders stood in front of the cameras and said it plain. I wasn't okay. I needed help. My teammates brought me back. That's not weakness. That's real strength. But here's what makes this story explosive. While Shedeur is being honest about his mental struggles, being real about needing his team's support, the Cleveland Browns, the franchise desperate for a franchise quarterback, are already looking elsewhere. Word is they're targeting Cam Ward. They're not even pretending anymore. The disrespect is off the charts. You're talking about a quarterback who just led Colorado to one of the biggest turnarounds in college football, a signal caller who threw for over 3,700 yards, 35 touchdowns, and completed nearly 74% of his passes, a generational arm talent who can make every throw on the field. And Cleveland? They're acting like he's damaged goods. Now let's talk about what's really happening here, because this goes deeper than football talent. This cuts to the heart of how the NFL treats certain players.
I think the want-to is to prove that I'm able to drive down the field, and that a bad half, doesn't define a character like kind of how it was the other week.
Shedeur knows the game. He knows every mistake gets blown up. Every rough half becomes a referendum on his character. And he's out here proving he can bounce back from adversity, that he can lead game-winning drives when it matters most. But here's the real question. Would any other top quarterback prospect face this kind of scrutiny? Think about it. When Trevor Lawrence struggled his rookie year with Jacksonville, what was the narrative? Give him time. He's learning. The roster isn't there. When Zach Wilson looked completely lost with the Jets, what did everyone say? The coaching is awful. He needs more support. But with Shedeur Sanders, suddenly it's all about his father, about the so-called baggage, about whether he can handle being Deion's son.
For him to say, "Dad, I need you back," I was going to do everything I could to get on that sideline to be there for my baby. That explains the embrace that we had on the sideline. It wasn't about football. It was about a father being there.
The double standard is glaring. And here's the irony. Shedeur is more ready for NFL scrutiny than 99% of prospects who came before him. This guy's been under a microscope since high school. He's handled more media pressure at Colorado than most NFL starters see in their entire careers. But somehow, Cleveland isn't sold. Let's dive into the mental health piece, because it matters. In that post-game press conference, Shedeur opened up about those spiritual battles, about needing his teammates to pull him back. He talked about how the whole season has been ups, downs, different feelings. That's real talk.
Like you gotta be able to, at some point in time, talk to people. Sometimes you gotta lean on people also.
In his conversation with Cam Newton, things got even deeper. Cam, who knows exactly what it's like to carry impossible expectations, asked Shedeur about handling the pressure of being Deion Sanders' son. Shedeur's answer? Brutally honest. He said it doesn't really feel like pressure because it's been his reality every year. When you grow up in a big house, you don't appreciate it until it's gone. He explained how his dad intentionally moved them to a smaller place, put them in charter schools instead of private schools, all to keep them grounded. This is a kid who understands humility at a deep level, and yet the narrative around him is that he's entitled, that he's cocky, that he'll bring drama because of his last name. It's maddening. Now let's talk about that final game against Cincinnati, because this is where Shedeur showed exactly who he is as a competitor. He admitted he started slow. His first half was rough. He wasn't seeing the field well. But at halftime, his teammates got in his face. They reminded him who he was. And what happened next? He came out firing in the second half and led the game-winning drive.
I knew the whole time he was going to be able to make it. So I think it was a bunch of different battles, overall that we won today, and it started up here, started mentally.
That's clutch. That's leadership. That's the kind of mental toughness you can't coach. But here's what makes Cleveland's reported disinterest so confusing. They just watched Deshaun Watson, their $230 million investment, look completely washed for an entire season. They watched him struggle with basic throws. They watched him turn the ball over in crucial moments. They watched him show zero of the mobility or arm talent that made him elite in Houston. And their response is to pass on Shedeur Sanders? Make it sense. Some reports suggest the Browns prefer Cam Ward because he brings less baggage, because he doesn't come with the Deion Sanders media circus, because he fits the traditional mold of what Cleveland wants. But let's be real about what that means. They're scared. Scared of the spotlight. Scared of dealing with a confident black quarterback who won't apologize for who he is. Scared of a father who will hold them accountable if they mishandle his son's career. And that fear, it's going to cost them. Because Shedeur Sanders is going to be a problem in this league. Not the bad kind. The kind that lights up your defense for 300 yards and 4 touchdowns. The kind that shows up in January when everything's on the line. The mental strength this kid has displayed is remarkable. He talked about learning what he likes and what he doesn't. He talked about managing his emotions, both when things are going right and when they're falling apart.
Mentally, it was how to deal with when things are going your way, when things aren't going your way, when how to deal with feelings. So
that level of self-awareness at 22, that's special. Most quarterbacks don't figure that out until they're 5 or 6 years into their NFL careers. Most guys cycle through multiple coordinators and coaching staffs before they understand how to control their emotions under NFL pressure. Shedeur already has it figured out, and the Browns are gonna pass because of optics, because of perception, because they care more about what people will say than what he can actually do on Sundays. It's a tragedy. Here's what's coming. Shedeur lands somewhere else, maybe Las Vegas, maybe the Giants, maybe Tennessee, and he's gonna thrive. He's gonna become exactly what everyone who watched him at Colorado knows he can be, a legitimate franchise quarterback who can sling it with anyone. And Cleveland? They'll be stuck in the same cycle they've been trapped in for 25 years, drafting the wrong guy, breaking young quarterbacks, wondering why nothing ever works. The vulnerability Shedeur showed in these interviews isn't a red flag, it's the opposite. It proves he's mature enough to recognize when he needs help. It proves he's honest enough to admit his struggles. It proves he's surrounded by people who genuinely care about him and will lift him up in the tough moments. Those are exactly the qualities you want in a franchise quarterback. Someone who handles adversity, someone who bounces back from bad halves, someone who trusts his teammates and lets them elevate him when he's down. Cam Newton nailed it in their conversation. Shedeur's mental has to be bulletproof. He's in a lose-lose situation 90% of the time. No matter what he says or does, someone's gonna criticize him. But here's the thing, he's built for it. He's lived in that pressure cooker his entire life, and instead of breaking, instead of letting it destroy him, he's used it as fuel. He's used it to become one of the most polished NFL-ready quarterback prospects in years. The Browns sabotaging their own future by passing on him? That's on them. But mark these words, Shedeur Sanders is going to make every team that passes on him regret it. And when he's holding up the Lombardi Trophy down the line, Cleveland will be left wondering what could have been. Again, this isn't just a football story. This is about mental health, about vulnerability, about a young man fighting battles nobody can see while carrying the weight of impossible expectations, and he's winning those battles. The NFL better recognize what they have in Shedeur Sanders, because players like this don't come around often. Quarterbacks with his arm talent? Sure, they show up every few years, but quarterbacks with his mental fortitude, his self-awareness, his ability to be vulnerable while staying deadly confident, that's rare. Cleveland had a shot to grab something special. They had a chance to pair elite talent with elite character. They had a chance to build their franchise around a quarterback who already understands what it takes to lead at the highest level. Instead, they're gonna let him walk away. And when Shedeur Sanders is torching their defense for the next decade, when he's making Pro Bowls and winning playoff games, when he's doing exactly what everyone who paid attention knew he could do, the Cleveland will have nobody to blame but themselves. This is the story of Shedeur Sanders, a quarterback who dared to be vulnerable, who admitted he struggles, who showed the world that real strength isn't about being perfect, it's about getting back up after you fall. The NFL needs more of that, not less.